All right, good afternoon. My name is Andrea Abrahamson, and I'm a program coordinator for the Critical Oregon Airport Relief, or COAR program, administered by the Oregon Department of Aviation. Additionally, Alex Thomas, ODAV's Planning and Program Manager, and Ermi Bunkel, ODAV COAR Program Coordinator, are also on this training. We'd like to thank you for joining us for today's training for the upcoming COAR grant application. I will begin with a brief overview and update on the COAR program, and then we will walk through a sample application. Please use the chat function for any questions, and we will monitor and answer the questions as appropriate throughout the training. All right, so to give just a brief overview of what the COAR program is, our program was created by the legislature and is found in Oregon Revised Statute, or ORS 319.023, and additionally, the program is governed by Oregon Administrative Rule 738-124. In 2024, we had the statute amended through House Bill 4109. The change that we made was regarding our Priority 1 applications, which are grants that are provided to assist Oregon airports with match requirements for FAA grants. Previously, the statute specified that it was for AIP grants specifically, and we changed that to cover any funding that the FAA may provide through grants. Additionally, we updated our administrative rules that were effective as of July 1st. And those were updated in order to give more clarification on the process and the program, and those are a great resource if you aren't familiar with the program. The COAR program is funded by tax on aviation fuel sold in Oregon, and the purpose of the program is threefold. First is to assist Oregon airports with match requirements for FAA grants, and these are referred to as Priority 1 grants. Secondly, to make grants for emergency preparedness and infrastructure projects in accordance with the Oregon Resilience Plan or Oregon Aviation Plan, and these are referred to as Priority 2. And then finally, to make grants for critical or essential services, airport development for local economic benefit, or to assist commercial air service to rural Oregon, and these are considered Priority 3 projects or applications. And then finally, eligibility for a COAR grant, publicly owned airport or airport sponsors, a public use airport in Oregon, or a privately owned airport in Oregon, as long as it is open for public use. Our COAR grant cycle runs in the same way every year. So here on the left, you'll see a little flow chart. We have our application period every October. This year, it begins on October 7th, and it runs for 3 weeks. Once the application period has closed, ODAV program coordinators do an internal review, and typically we do this in the month of November or within the couple weeks after the application period has closed. After the internal review is complete, our Aviation Review Committee, or ARC, meets to review and score, rank, and prioritize the applications to present to the Aviation Board for approval. And then every February, our February Aviation Board meeting, the recommendations from the Aviation Review Committee are presented, and the board chooses their applications for approval. And once that's complete, ODAV program coordinators begin reaching out to the new grantees and work on executing new agreements. Our funding availability for this upcoming cycle is around $3.5 million, and that is pretty in line with what it has been for the past few years. One thing that we are doing different this cycle is we are going to allow presentations to the Aviation Review Committee cohorts. And what this will do is allow the applicants to maybe give a little bit better explanation to the Aviation Review Committee, rather than them having to rely solely on what's entered into the application, which in the past has caused some confusion, and the ARC decided that they would like to be able to talk to the applicants if possible. So We are definitely recommending this for our priority 2 and 3 applications. The priority 1 applications or FAA grant matches are always the first funded through the COAR program. So because those are also projects that are go along with FAA grants, we don't necessarily think that the priority 1 applications need to have presentations, but those applicants are always welcome to do that if they would like to. And then additionally, just to clarify, the presentations have no impact on the application scoring at all. It's simply just a way for applicants to present additional information and the ARC to ask any questions that they may have. Next up, some applicants may have previous applications that were not approved in other cycles, so you're always welcome to apply for those again. Just make sure if you are copying from a previous application that all the information is updated and appropriate for the new cycle. And then finally, if there are any applications from previous cycles that have been approved and not executed, we would appreciate an update or status from our grantees on those. We like to get as many of those executed prior to a new batch of grants being approved. Next up, we wanted to talk about the COAR grant request. So per our Oregon administrative rules, the maximum request for a COAR grant is $150,000. But in our rules, the Aviation Board may approve a larger grant award if they find it meets the purposes of the program. Applicants may be required to submit justification in the application for requesting an amount higher than $150,000. So it is a possibility that if a larger amount is requested, the board may approve it, but they may also approve a lower grant award than is requested, and providing detailed justification, statistics, as much documentation as possible increases the chance of funding an amount greater than $150,000. And then one more item that came up this year is the FAA is funding their fiscal year 25 AIP grants at 95% with just a 5% match requirement from airport sponsors. A few sponsors have reached out asking if this affects the minimum match requirement for COAR grants, and the answer to that is no. Our COAR minimum match requirement is set in the OAR 738-124-0040, and it's based on the category of airport at which the project will be implemented as listed in the Oregon Aviation Plan. And you'll see the list of categories and match requirements below. Again, that is also found in our Oregon administrative rules. And finally, just to give a couple general instructions for the COAR application, we recommend looking over our instructions to applicants and instructions to reviewers documents. These will be emailed out to all of our airport sponsors after this training, and additionally, these documents will be available in the application once the application period opens. We recommend that all of our airport sponsors review their organization members in the grant software and let program coordinators know if there are any changes or updates. Again, just to mention that the applications are reviewed, scored, and ranked for funding by the Aviation Review Committee. And so we just like to emphasize be as concise and descriptive with answers as possible, as the failure to provide clear answers or supporting evidence and facts regarding a project may result in lower scores or rankings. And again, presentations can also help with this. So that's the option that is available this year again. And then finally, the statewide impact form is one of the forms in the application. And we like to point this one out specifically because these questions are statutorily required questions that the ARC specifically reviews to score and rank the projects for funding. So these questions give a chance to provide details, statistics, and measurable improvements to show how the proposed project will benefit Oregon's airport and transportation system. And answering no to any of these questions affects the total application score. And as we go through the sample application, we'll go through answering those as required by the ARC for review. And then finally, program contacts are myself and Ermi Bunkel. And you can also email any questions to grants@odav.oregon.gov, and both of us will receive those. So I'm going to stop sharing now and then get ready to bring up our sample application. All right, so you all should be able to see a user acceptance testing. This is our testing system for our COAR grants, and we are going to walk through a test application through here. So as a program manager role or a authorized user role in IGX, you will be able to log in and find the COAR application under My Opportunities. Now, if you log in and you do not see this My Opportunities box on your dashboard, click on the little arrow next to your name, which will be in the right-hand corner. Click on Edit Dashboard, Add Panel, and this will allow you to add or remove any of the panels on here. So again, if you don't see the My Opportunities when you log in, add your panel there, and then you will see COAR Program Application 2025 available. There we go. All right, so the box will pop up and you'll click on Agree to start the application. All of your application forms will be on the left-hand side in this blue bar. If you hover over the application number at the top, it will tell you what that it's the COAR Application 2025. The status is an application in progress. It will show your organization, so your airport or airport sponsor name, and then what your role in the system is. So to begin the application, click on General Project Information. You will fill in all fields that have an asterisk. The organization name and address will be pre-filled. And so again, just double check that that information is correct. And if not, reach out to program coordinators. Information. Next up will be your project name. And you want to make this a really clear, just short name of what your project is. Some people may put in updates for airport. We want to know exactly what is going to be. So if it is fencing for airport, equipment purchase, pavement rehab, put the specific work of the project into that project name. Project location is just the airport. The region will be pre-filled. County tax and parcel identification numbers, enter those in, and then if you have a map compilation, those can be uploaded here. Next again, you'll put in the airport name, and then the airport category and NIPIUS or non-NIPIUS designation will be pre-filled. The next section is project overview, and so you will select the type of project being proposed. Click on the drop-down box, and there are 4 selections here. So program implementation indicates projects that are ready for implementation, such as construction or immediate repairs. Program planning relates to projects such as master plans, design and engineering, or ALPs. Program elements are projects related to purchase of equipment such as tractors or snow removal equipment. And program study is related to studies such as resiliency, airport boundaries, those sorts of projects. Our next selection is the category of project for which you are requesting funding. So again, this goes along with the priorities discussed earlier. A priority 1 application is assistance with an FAA grant match. Priority 2 is emergency preparedness and infrastructure projects in accordance with the Oregon Resilience Plan. And then the priority 3 are one of the other 4 selections here. And if you have any question about which one of these categories you should be selecting, please reach out to program coordinators and we can help you out with that. Excuse me just a moment. Next, you will enter the project start and end dates. We do ask that you just give your best estimate on these, and we understand that these may change prior to either application or approval, or once approved, they may change before execution of the grant agreement. But just to your best estimate, enter in when you believe the project will start and end. And you can either enter in the dates or you can select the calendar that way. The next few questions will go over some information about the project. So the first one is a project summary. Provide a brief summary of the project in the space provided below. So in this one, it's just requesting a very brief summary. This summary may be used in summary reports on ODAV web pages, our Critical Oregon Airport Relief grant page, and in other published materials such as the annual report that we submit to the legislature. The next box is the project purpose and description. So provide a purpose and description of the project in the space provided below. And this is where you can get a little more in depth into what the project is actually going to be. And so provide a brief description of the proposed project to be funded. The description should include what the project will do or build and who will benefit from it. So describe the benefits, describe the aviation asset that will result from a proposed project. And this description should be equivalent or similar to a project scope, defining the efforts needed for construction or completion of whatever type of project it is. And then finally, the description should clearly define what the project will perform. For instance, if it's construction, a sample would be project will perform the rehabilitation of 5,300 feet of runway along with associated improvements such as 10,600 feet of underdrain lighting, rewiring, etc. So the more detail and the more specifics, the better. The next few questions are yes and no. If you select no on these, that's all you do for the question. If you select yes, a text box comes up and you will need to enter information into this text box before you can submit the form. So the first question is, does the project eliminate current deficiencies listed in the Oregon Aviation Plan? And so for this question, if you answered yes, you will want to clearly state what chapter or pages of the Oregon Aviation Plan speaks to the deficiencies that will be eliminated from this project. And again, just putting as much detail and backup information in these questions, the better. The next question is, does the project modernize the airport by exceeding state or federal minimum standards as stated in the current Oregon Aviation Plan and identified by the Federal Aviation Administration advisory circulars or other regulations? And again, if you select yes, you will enter information into the box here. And you will want to specify again where in the Oregon Aviation Plan you are gathering information, or specifically which FAA advisory circulars you're taking information from, and any other regulations or documentation that you are referring to. Next, does the project prevent future deficiencies and preserve the existing facilities? Again, give specifics in detail, specific examples of how this project preserves the facilities, how it prevents the deficiencies, and citing data from any relevant sources. Does the project increase financial self-sufficiency of the airport? And then finally, just the same as the other ones, you want to give as much detail, specifically how does this project do it? How does it increase the financial self-sufficiency? And then the last question on this page is, does the project have local support? If yes, enter in who it is that supports the project. And then additionally, if you have letters of support or other documentation, that can be uploaded in this miscellaneous uploads section, which we will get to in just a moment. So once all of this information is complete, you can click Save, and that will tell you once it's saved if there are any issues on the form. If there's anything that wasn't filled out that needs to be, you will get a warning box. And then you can click Next Form to move on to the next one. I'll try refreshing it. So in the application, when you were filling it out, it won't do that, hopefully. It did, when I had to refresh it, took my information out that I entered in. So that's why being able to save it is always a plus. But once the form is complete and the information is saved in there, you'll see a checkbox right here, and that's how you know that that form is complete and updated. So we'll go to our next one, which is project documentation form. And so this one just has a couple questions on it regarding, was an airport layout plan completed within the last 10 years? If yes, give the date of completion. If no, enter in a reason. And if it's underway, enter in an anticipated date of completion. Next, you'll select yes or no if a NEPA review is required. If yes, you'll choose one of these options from the drop-down box. If no, you'll move on to airport capacity. Is there an existence of airport zoning? Either yes or no. And then if there are any required permits that have been issued or will need to be, you'll fill out this permit section. For additional rows, you'll click the X on the side, and if you have too many, you can select the minus sign and get rid of any extra rows. So once that's complete, it looks like it worked this time. You can either click that save or the next form, which will also save it. And you can see here that there's a checkbox, so we know that that form is complete. So the next form is the statewide impact form. And again, these are the questions that are required in statute. And the word impact here refers to the measurable improvements in use and or efficiency that each project will achieve once it is fully operational. Fully operational means the project is complete and in service. For planning projects, this means when the construction project being planned is complete and in service. Due to the variety of eligible projects, we anticipate that some applicants will not be able to answer all of these questions, but if it is applicable, you'll want to provide as much detail as possible. So again, these have the same option. If you select no, you'll move on to the next question. If you select yes, a text box will pop up and you can fill in your information. So the first question is, Does the proposed project reduce transportation costs for Oregon businesses or improve access to jobs and sources of labor? So some suggestions in order to provide the explanation here is identify if the project will serve Oregon's industry clusters. There is a specific website that you can go to actually identify what the clusters are. And excuse me, the link is available in the training documents. You'll want to identify, if possible, specific businesses, number of businesses, and how the project will provide cost savings. Specific businesses that will be connected to residential areas and how this project will improve connection to sources of labor. And finally, demographics or other relevant characteristics of residential areas that gain new or improved access to jobs as a result of this project. The next question is, does the proposed project result in an economic benefit to the state? So per the FAA, some measures of economic growth and quality of life include number of jobs created, number of business establishments created, overall increases in gross domestic products or gross regional product, increases in property value or tax bases. Will this project result in businesses being able to stay or expand in Oregon long term? And finally, limit discussion of economic benefit to this project's impact on the state's ability to attract or retain business or industry. Next, is the proposed project a critical link connecting elements of Oregon's transportation system that will measurably improve utilization and efficiency of the system? So some additional questions to ask are, does the project create new transportation connection or improve existing connections? Does it link multiple modes of transportation? Does it create links to transportation networks outside of Oregon? Measurement of success should be quantifiable, focus on the utilization and/or efficiency of the project. Measures of success include flow rates, capacity safety measures, financial return, measure of customer satisfaction or public benefit, and finally, indicate the current level of success and expected level of success once the project is fully operational. Our next question is the proposed project ready for construction or implementation within 6 months of grant execution? Some examples, just showing the project readiness is permitting ready. Is the match financing available? Are there any land use approvals that are needed or have been received? And applicant capacity, does the applicant have the capacity to begin the project and administer it as required by the COAR program? And then you'll want to also just indicate any unique construction readiness or project implementation issues or any other delays that the project may face. And then, in here, actually, you will enter in if the project has any unique construction readiness, project implementation issues, or possible delays. And then finally, does the proposed project have a useful life expectancy that offers maximum benefit to the state? Please include the minimum useful life expectancy in years in your answer. So the useful life pertains to the main element of the project. To determine the useful life, you can look at industry standards, previously documented projects, professional research, other historical data. For non-construction projects, how will the project help sustain the airport or provide useful life of the end product? For example, on a runway rehabilitation project, Phase 1, environmental and design, will prepare the runway for Phase 2, which will have a life expectancy of 20 years. The next form is the budget form. And the first question is this project currently listed in your approved federal CIP? If yes, you will want to attach a copy of your capital improvement plan. And again, that may be attached in this miscellaneous uploads form, or at the bottom of this budget form, there's also a place to upload documents. If this is not a priority 1 or FAA funded project, you'll select no and just enter in your total project cost. Once this page is saved, the form itself will actually calculate what the required minimum match dollar amount is for the airport based on its required minimum match from the airport category. And then again, down here in source of match funds, you'll enter in your FAA grant amount, the sponsor match amount, funding other than sponsors could be if the project has another grant, for example, a grant provided by FEMA or USDA or perhaps Connect Oregon, that funding would be entered in here. The aviation project funding request to ODAV or the COAR grant amount request will go here. And once all of that's entered, you can click on Save. You'll see here it's now entered in. The minimum program match requirement is $1,000. It's got our source of match funds at $91,000, our COAR grant request amount at $9,000, giving a total project cost of $100,000, which matches what we entered up here in the original funding breakdown. And now you can see, because I didn't fill out everything required on the page, when I saved, I got a warning box up here. So there is one more question. Has the project incurred any expenditures prior to the completion of this agreement, if awarded? If yes, explain. So if you click on yes, this checkbox pops up and advises only project costs incurred on or after the effective date of the agreement are eligible for grant funds with the exception of priority 1 FAA grant match projects. So if there have been pre-agreement expenditures, you will enter the details into this box here. If there have not been any, just leave it at no, and that's all that's needed. And then again, down here is a box for uploading, if it's a FAA funded project, upload the CIP documentation. You may also upload other budget related documents such as sponsor funding, any other grant or financial documentation that is pertinent to the project. And then finally, we are at the miscellaneous uploads box. So if there are any other documents that you would like to add, once again, such as the letters of support, design plans, anything else that would be helpful in reviewing this application or understanding the project that's being applied for, can be uploaded into this miscellaneous uploads area. So once all of that's complete and you're happy with all the information that's been entered, you have a checkbox in every single one of these, except for the miscellaneous uploads is not required. Then you're ready to submit the application. And so you'll scroll down to your status options, click on Submit Application. And here we can see that it's not letting me submit it because all the information was deleted from this general project information. But as long as everything is filled out and you've got your check marks in there, a box will pop up asking if you are sure that you would like to submit the application, and you'll select yes, and it will be forwarded over to ODAP to start doing the internal review once the application period has ended. So that is an overview of the whole application process. One more thing to point out on the dashboard is if you click on this little question mark up here, there is a grantee manual. There's a grantee training video, which this was put together by the software providers last year and also walks through the application. And then once the application is live on October 7th, the application instructions, instructions to applicants and instructions to reviewers will be located in this box here, so those will be available for review. All right, it doesn't look like we had any questions in the chat. I'll give just a minute if there is anybody that would like to ask anything in the chat, and we can answer that.
I'll just say too, this is Alex. Anybody, if you have a priority 2 or 3 project, please do take advantage of the opportunity to put together a brief presentation and talk about your airport, your project, and why that specific project is important. As Andrea had discussed early on in this training, when we get to the review step of this entire process, there's always a lot of questions from the reviewers, and we just want everybody to to have an equal chance and have the best opportunity they can to express why their project is important at their airport. So do take advantage of that.
All right, thank you, Alex, and thank you everybody that attended. Please definitely reach out if you have any questions. And this training is complete.